Again, the top, we have to think like a raindrop. Essentially, I know I'm going to install a piece that's going to come down on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide that over so it's that length there. So again, I'm not going to measure. Why measure if you don't have to? I'm going to put this piece over here like that, and that's going to be the length of this piece. So now I'm going to mark right here. That's the perfect length right there. And who knows what measurement it is, and you know what? Who cares? So I'm going to cut the two sides. I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to cut it like this. Now that I know this piece and the length that it's got to be, if I take my little spacer and stick it back up again, this is where it belongs, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little spacer off, and I'm just going to mark. Those two marks represent the outside of my window. It represents from here to here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snip to that mark on both sides. And that's going to fold up like this. I'm just going to snip it off with my knife. I can use my snips if I want, but it's actually really easy to snip it off with my knife. So now I've got this like this. All right, cut this on a 45 degree, kind of backwards. If you're really good, you don't need to use your square. We're going to cut right along there like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut there like this. And then we're going to come around at the same level. And we're going to cut that off here like this. The rain that comes down here like this is not going to go in behind. It's going to get channeled so it drips down. It's going to go to a place where it can't turn the corner. That's going to go in like this. If we look at this and we say, oh, this isn't exactly the way I want it to be, that's not a problem, because all I have to do is I have to cut this at a little less steep angle. And we're going to put that back in there. So I'm pretty happy with that, the way that joins. And it looks good. It's a nice miter corner, right? Beauty. Again, the top, we have to think like a raindrop. Windows are like a notorious place. Tops of windows and tops of doors are a notorious place for water infiltration. In this case, wouldn't be too bad. We have our roof line up here and our windows close to it. But a lot of time windows are a lot further down from the roof line. Rain driving in at an angle is going to hit here, and it's going to come down and go into the top of the window. So we have to take a lot of care around that. So what we're going to use is something called a window drip edge. What it is essentially an L, a big L, and our siding is going to go on the front of that. So any water that hits that is going to come off. There's this little tension drip here. Water will come across the corner, and it will not be able to come back around and in because surface tension will force it to drop off. All of these drip edges are designed the exact same way to get the water away from the building, because water will flow even uphill if there's another piece touching it. So we're trying to get it out of the way. This baby is going to go from the outside of this J to the outside of this J. Again, I don't need a measuring tape. All I have to do is mark it underneath. And if I'm feeling insecure about how straight I can cut, I can just mark it there and there. And just cut it off. If anything, keep it a little longer, a touch longer than shorter. All right, so that's going to sit right up here like this. Once again, I have to cut it. I got to think like a raindrop. So I'm just going to mark it inside here. So now this is where my tabs are going to be, there and there. I'm going to cut along the edge. And I'm going to make the same tabs as I've been making. I can actually cut this one a little bit smaller. So that's tab 1. I can cut it even on an angle if I want to. And tab 2. Tab 1 and tab 2. So you can see right away those little tabs fitting in there force the water to come around the edge. Any water coming in there is going to force the water to come down here, and it's going to drip out. So I've got my little drip edge here, so water coming across the top will be forced to drip down. It cannot go upstream. It's going to fall straight down. So I'm getting rid of water in my window. So I actually have to have a drip J at the top, the same length as my drip edge. And I actually have to do those same little tabs here on this. So we're going to have like a double tab up there. So this tab is going to fit inside here, and this tab's going to fit inside here. And then all I have to do is nail that up. Okay, so now I've got all my trim around my window. I've got my defining characteristics of my wall. It's a simple matter of putting my nails in the siding, just like we talked about in the last video. Cutting each one of those sidings so that it's the right length, which is about 3/8 of an inch shorter than the distance between the two J's of the exterior corners. Coming around the window and fitting it into this J. The last thing I'm going to do is put a bead of caulking around here and here and here, just to seal that up, and we're ready to go. And that's how you prepare your wall for vinyl siding.